How are we doing, guys? So today, Graco GXFF, I'm going to do a cleaning video. So if you're looking to do a deep clean on your unit, then this is going to be the video for you. I've not actually been using this for a good 3-4 months now, and it's still got the paint in. So we're going to see what kind of state it's in and what you could expect if you were to do the same. Now bear in mind, mine's just had emulsion in, and I've not cleaned the tip either, so we'll do a close-up on that, the state of that, and we'll have a look inside. And I'm pretty confident that because it's just emulsion, we're going to be able to get it up running. It's probably going to fire up first time, and the paint in the line and inside probably going to be all right because the hopper does a decent job of sealing, and everything inside is not open to the elements anyway, so it will have stayed wet in the lines anyway. So we'll take a look and see what we're in for. So smash the like button, hit subscribe. All those things really help the channel grow. It helps the videos get pushed out to a broader audience. So if guys are struggling, they get a chance to see the videos and it can help them in a sticky situation. So as well with this unit, I tend to be using the Graco Compact Gun. Now if you've not seen one of these or if you're interested in it, I'll pop a link to the video of my review up there or there. So if you want to check that out. Honestly, one of my favourite guns at the minute, so comfortable for prolonged use, especially coupled with the 1/8 shoelace whip. So let's see what we're in for. Started to go a little bit yellow. Let's see if it fires up. We're going to leave the machine off for the second, keep the switch flicked out because that's prime, and then on the other side where the dial is, we're going to leave it in prime, turn it on, and then start to twist. And we've had a little fire up. So there, so it's actually turning over. It's not clogged up inside, luckily. But if yours has, we'll get to that part later because I'm going to be stripping the bits down and you'll see where it could have potentially gone wrong. So what I'm going to do with this paint is I'm just going to discard of it. If you were saving the paint or you're going to use it again, then just pop it back into your paint tub, and you'd either do that by pouring it away, which because we've got a bit, I'll do. And I'll just run that last bit through in prime. And I have a bucket of water. Ta-da! And then I've got a little bucket, just with again water in. Got a little scourer and just a couple of brushes. We're going to use that to just get things cleaner. So it's just soapy water. Let's just pour some water in. Not loads, because we can try and cut, if you've only got access to limited amount of water or cleaning product, depending on what you've used to paint, fill up one tub or one bucket full of clean, and you have your empty one, and you keep pouring bits into that instead of then dirtying that whole bucket. So all I'll just do is get a brush, give it a quick brush around. So just at this point, all I'm trying to do is just get the main paint out. I'm not too bothered about getting the hopper spotless yet. I'm just trying to get all the wet paint to be diluted and flushed through. So that's my filter. We'll put that in the bucket and just run your brush where the filter was, because it does tend to hold a bit of paint in there. Run that in prime. So my two buckets that I've got here, one's for paint and one's going to be for the dirty water. So now I've got all the paint out, I'll just put that to one side for a minute. I'm going to move my waste pipe into the waste one now. So the only reason I'm running it through prime is just for this video. It's easier for me to run it in prime than it is keep lifting it up. So just a couple of little rinse throughs, and then this hopper is going to be pretty clean in terms of wet paint. Just put a little bit more in, only a splash. So that's where we're at now. So what I'm going to do now is just pour a bit more water in. A bit more this time. We're going to flush the gun through. Now the tip and the guard are just clogged up really bad. I'll show you. So I'm just going to take the guard and the tip off for now. We'll leave it to soak. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the guard off of the gun, rotate. We'll see how bad this filter is. Not too bad really, it's stayed wet. Chuck the filter in the pot, and then all I'm bothered about is running my paint out of the hose into the paint pot. So what we're going to do is flick it in for spray, turn it on, the pressure might be on. Right, so we've ran half a hopper's worth of water, and that's got the paint out, and then now it's milky water. Turn it off and turn the pressure dial off. Put it in prime just to make sure there's no pressure. So what I'm going to do now is just take the hopper off, and we're going to then take the ball bearing out and inspect that and clean that. So if we just take this off, you'll get a little bit of water drop through. Then if we have a little look inside, you want to run one of your cleaning pipes through there, one of those. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to have a look at where the ball entry, where the ball bearing is. So there's a ball in, a release ball in there, which when you push that, that's what it releases the ball. If it's ever dirty, if it's really firm, just keep trying to press it until it releases. So I'm going to get my adjustable wrench, and we're just going to take that part off. So once that part's off, I mean, we can see how dirty it is. Then we've got access to the ball bearing then, which is in there. There's the ball. So the ball area's quite clean, but the hopper side of this part is so bad. If you want to clean things real quick, then I mean, oftentimes I'll just use gunwash or I'll use acetone, but on this occasion I'm just going to persist with soapy water. So I'm happy that that's a lot cleaner. So I'm going to put the ball back in. I'll just balance it on top. Sling it in there. Nip it back up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the hose off. I don't use the manifold filter because I don't really see that there's that much point, because it's that small. If it gets clogged up, it's just going to stop. So I don't bother using it. So if you did have a filter, this is the area that we'd inspect anyway. So we'll take a look just to see what it's like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the hose off first and then take this nut off. So that's the hose off, and we can see there's a little bit of a build up around that area, so again we can clean that with our little pipe cleaner. Now the hose is off, we can take this area off. So as I say, if you add a manifold filter in, or you're wanting to know where the filter goes, it goes in there. So as you see, I've not got one in, but I do have one, and that's it. So that is the manifold filter. As I say, it's tiny compared, I mean, they're two different manifold filters. That one's from a Tritech T7, and that one's from my 695 as well, Graco 695. So I mean, look at the difference there. So if you did put it in, you find that you can only put it in one way, and the flat sealed end doesn't actually go in that bit there, so whereas that does. So it would go flat sealed end down. As I say, they're that small. If it gets clogged up, it's just stopping the flow of fluid going through the line. So you might end up just with work stopping because your tiny little filter's blocked up. So I'm just going to run pipe cleaner. Again, fine, not too bad to be honest. I expected it to be a lot worse. Hose back on. Now with any of the units that I do a deeper clean with, I never really tend to flush the hoses through with like more aggressive chemicals, because they're generally staying wet in the hose. So what you can risk is, if you're putting something through that's going to thoroughly clean it, you're going to, if it has potentially dried in there, it's going to then come away from the inner linings of the hose, and over time they could then just get in lumps of dried paint or lumps of paint that was, prior to you trying to clean it, absolutely fine on the hose. You could just get like loads and loads of blockages. So if I'm ever doing the deep clean, and I'll run, I mean, I sometimes just run the gunwash. I'll just put some gunwash in the hopper and just circulate it in prime. And that does a pretty quick job of doing it. And then straight after, I'll just run some acetone through it, because the acetone then just gets rid of that greasy feeling, and then the acetone neutralizes it. So you could put water-based or oil-based in afterwards, because the acetone's done a real good job of just clearing it. But do that at your own risk. So as I say, happy now. If I want to do a better clean on the hopper, I just take a bit more time. When you put your hopper back on, when you put your hose back on, you got to make sure that it's not in the way of your hopper. So it needs to stick out. So it's best to put your hopper on, leave your hose connection a little loose, fit your hopper. Hand tight. As you see, if I'd have tightened that up further that way, the hopper wouldn't have been able to come on. So now all I've got to do is just nip it up there. So now we've got to the gun. Now the cartridge, to be honest, looks like it's just so dirty in there. So what I'm going to do is pop the trigger there and there, push them in, lift the trigger up, and then, too tight. Let's get my adjustables on it. Still covered in paint. So it'll probably blow through. So just going to soak it in the water for a minute. So I'm just going to run some through prime now that we've cleaned it out. Because I got the gun off, remember that the gun hose end is going to pour water out if you don't have it in the bucket because your gun's not connected, so bear that in mind. So I'm going to put my gun filter back in. A little pointy bit at the top. So, cartridge back in. When it's in, trigger down, lock on. That's it. So again, just tiny bit more. Not even used a full bucket's worth yet. So my filter is pretty clean now. Put that in there. I've got just enough water to just run the hose through. So I'm going to just give a little clean to that. Been soaking in water now. So just brush the front, brush the back. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to blow the gun through. I'm going to flick the switch in. There we go. Just clip my waist back on. Just pour that excess away. So if you're wanting to store your sprayer and you've got it clean enough, then all that we're going to do is circulate in prime. I've just got to hand some Q-Tector, Graco pump armor, same thing. So what I'm going to do is just put a bit in. Turn the pressure off, flick it out to prime, then just run this little bit of Q-Tector through. Well, there you see how it's coming out. Like I say, we've literally used a tiny amount. And then that's good enough to store. Internals are clean as they're going to get. I've got pump armor in now, so it's not going to keep the insides from freezing if you're in colder conditions or causing the internals to rust. So it just keeps everything lubed up. I always recommend keeping your hose on. I don't really ever take my hoses off because as soon as you take it off, then you've stopped it being watertight. So by keeping everything connected, i.e. your hose with fluid in, and it's just not going to dry up then, and you're not going to have the potential of flakes coming off, which are going to either go through your hose, block at your tip, or cause blockages at the ball, where that's going to get jammed, or in your filter as well. So as I say, I've cleaned it quite well. If I want to get it cleaner, then I'll just take a bit longer. As I say, warm soapy water and a bit of patience scrubbing it, or cellulose thinners. Just get it clean in no time and then run it through with some soapy water and then put your pump armor in or your Q-Tector, and then you're good to store. But as I say, this one's going to go away now for a while. Hopefully you found the video helpful. It's not as daunting as some people may think. Any questions, drop them down below. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like, and leave us some feedback in the comments. It's always good to hear what you guys are saying. And until next time, I'll catch you in the next one.
How you afraid to drop a dime when you already dropped a dime? Got a wife at home, but you steady on my line. Talking about shorty, you remember when I grind slow? Did I really blow your mind though? Nah, you got me confused with your other booze. I've been peep game, so I never gave a cookie up. And that's why I got your wife on